President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi arrived in the United Arab Emirates to participate in the presidential segment of the 28th session of the Conference of the States Parties to the United Nations Framework Convention on the Climate Change to COP28. The details follow.
To attend the COP28, President al-Sisi held talks with the International Monetary Fund's Executive Director Kristalina Georgieva at his residence on Thursday. The talks focused on the Egyptian ties with the fund in light of the current cooperation program between the two sides, which is aimed at reforming the Egyptian economy, in addition to the climate change's financing, especially in developing countries. They also reviewed the international economic situations and the efforts exerted to reform and develop the international financing system and multilateral financing institutions, with the aim of confronting growing recent international challenges. President al-Sisi hailed the fruitful mutual partnership, confirming the Egyptian keenness to continue such partnership, thanks to the role in creating positive climate that serves all the investors and the international financial markets regarding the Egyptian economy and the available investment opportunities. The head of state asserted that Egypt is determined to enhance the reforms of financial and the monetary systems, in addition to bolstering the role played by the private sector in pushing forward the wheel of development. For her part, Georgieva said that the IMF is looking forward to continuing the distinguished ties binding the two sides and supporting the country's economic reforms. She further praised the Egyptian economy and hailed its flexibility and steadfastness in confronting negative repercussions resulted from the coronavirus, the Ukrainian-Russian war, and the situation in Gaza. The IMF Executive Director further reiterated the enhancement of the joint action with the aim of realizing the national Egyptian targets through improving the overall indices of the economy, increasing its competitiveness, and completing the current developmental work. During the COP28 conference, President al-Sisi is slated to review the Egyptian efforts during last year's COP27 in Sharm el-Sheikh, which focused on the issues of concern to developing and African countries, notably efforts to advance the international climate action, as well as the developed countries' adherence to the commitments within the framework of the Paris Climate Change Agreement. The head of state will hold talks with a number of heads of state and governments to review the bilateral cooperation, as well as exchanging views and visions on various regional and international issues.
Foreign Minister Sameh Shukri handed over the presidency of the COP28 to the United Arab Emirates. Foreign Ministry spokesperson Ahmed Abu Zaid said that the Minister Shukri had delivered the Egyptian speech during the inaugural session. Delegates from nearly 200 countries convene for the COP28 Climate Summit in Dubai, where conference host the United Arab Emirates hopes to sell the vision of a low-carbon future that includes and not shuns the fossil fuels. Humanitarian and aid trucks continue to enter the Gaza Strip through the Rafah border crossing, including 7 fuel trucks. Meanwhile, 5 injured Palestinians arrived in Egypt. Northern Sinai governor has earlier said that since the beginning of the humanitarian crisis in Gaza, Al Arish airport has received 222 planes from 54 countries carrying medical aid. A total of 1,814 aid trucks entered the Palestinian side of the Rafah land border crossing. Voting abroad begins on Friday in the presidential elections scheduled to be held over a period of 3 days, starting from the 1st of December until the 3rd of the same month. The voters will choose one of 4 presidential candidates. Number 1 in the voting list is presidential candidate Abdel Fattah al-Sisi with the star symbol. Number 2 is candidate Farid Zahran with the symbol of the sun. Number 3 is candidate Abd al-Sanad Yamama with the symbol of a palm tree. Number 4 is candidate Hazim Omar of the ladder symbol. And this comes as the campaigning silence continues abroad, paving the way for the kickoff of voting of the Egyptian expatriates in the Egyptian presidential elections. In the same context, Pope of Alexandria and the Patriarch of St. Mark's Cathedral, Tawadros II, called for the Egyptians abroad to practice the constitutional right through participating in the electoral process. The Secretariat of Mustaqbal Watan Party in Hurghada held a public conference in support of presidential candidate Abdel Fattah al-Sisi in the Red Sea Governorate. The attendees stressed that al-Sisi is the best option to lead the country in the current stage, pointing out to his achievements. The participants also called on the Egyptians to support President al-Sisi's stance regarding the Palestinian cause. Head of the evangelical sect, Andrea Zaki, received the presidential candidate Farid Zahran. During the meeting, Zahran reviewed the electoral program before members of the Evangelical Council. For his part, head of the evangelical sect called on the Egyptians to shoulder the responsibility and participate in the elections process in an active way that serves the interests of the country. Presidential candidate Abdel Sanad Yamama will hold his fourth electoral conference in Cairo on Friday. The conference comes in the framework of Yamama's series of conferences in which he presents the electoral program and the main axes of economic and political reforms, as well as maintaining the Egyptian historical right in the Nile River. Presidential candidate Hazem Omar held his third electoral conference at Al-Azhar Conference Center to discuss the most prominent problems facing citizens in the upper Egyptian governorates and putting forward the suggested solutions. Meanwhile, Pope Theodorus II, Patriarch of Alexandria, received the presidential candidate Hazem Omar and his campaign members, where they discussed several important issues, including the electoral program. For his part, Pope Theodorus said that the Coptic Church stands at an equal distance from all the candidates. The world of business and economy is up next. Head of the Suez Canal Authority, Osama Rabia, stated that the navigation movement statistics during the current month recorded unprecedented figures of the number of vessels passing through the waterway. Rabia said in a press conference that the canal's navigation has recorded in November the movement of 2,264 ships in both directions, by an increase of 4.3% than last year. Rabia added that the Suez Canal revenues during this month gained 20.3% by $854.7 million. The head of the Suez Canal Authority also reiterated that these indicators come as a result of the success of projects for upgrading navigational services. Egypt's stock market indices fluctuated, being affected by the selling operations by the Arab and the foreign investors. The main EGX 30 index lost 0.1%. The small and medium EGX 70 index soared 1.69%. The more expanded EGX 100 index added 1.5%. The overall transactions and dealings within the session reached £21.1 billion.